11:30 a.m. on the 26th day of September 2024, the Creeshlough explosion. In October 2022, in the town of Creeshlough in County Donegal in Ireland, there was an explosion which killed a good few people and injured many more. But I'm not sure of the injuries, but I know there was deaths anyway. To those who suffered such losses, I can only give my heartfelt sympathy. Really do. It's a terrible thing to happen. And they've called for an inquiry, presumably a judicial inquiry. Now, there are a few things I don't know, and I can only give you my opinion and put in the usual disclaimer that I can't be held accountable for the advice I give on law or anything else or legal matters. What I don't know, if there is any suggestion of someone having been culpable. Did someone do a deliberate wrong act or something illegal or something that would cause this explosion? I don't have a clue. What it originally looked like was there was a gas supply to this building, which apparently was a filling station where you had to fill up with petrol and maybe a little shop. And the gas escape. Now, ordinarily, if you have a cylinder of gas here and you put a candle lit there, it'll take a long time for the gas to build up to a level where the level of the air in the air of oxygen, the oxygen is 20% of the air, till the level of gas becomes right. There is a point at which it becomes right. All gases have a point where they become flammable if lit. So essentially, if you leave on the gas and you leave the one beside it on, the ring beside it, there isn't an explosion. It could go on for ages, and usually if it jumps across, what will happen is the nearby ring will eventually, the gas from it will eventually reach that point and it'll burn. But it won't be in the overall air. It'll jump across and you'll see the ring on the right lighting from the ring on the left. So for a good big explosion, I can't say there's anything such thing as a good explosion, but for a big explosion to happen, you'd have to have most of the air in that house saturated, or in that building, with the gas. This is a problem. This is why acetylene is used on ships for renovations and repair. If you use propane, the propane goes down, it's heavier than air. So is butane. And so it goes down into the ship, and if it got high enough, you could have an explosion, high enough concentration. Whereas acetylene is slightly lighter than air, and it rises up, and therefore goes up into the air. These explosions are quite rare. Now, one of the things I'd be looking for there is what would the source of the gas be? And that would look for something turned on or a leaking pipe or whatever. And even with the explosion, it possibly should still be about. There should be some sign of where it was on. After the explosion, it should have been possible to see was there any burners or anything else left on. I presume they have checked that, and the answer is they haven't found that. So, if it's not gas, it could happen with gas. There's butane, propane, methane, there's all this gas. But if it did happen with gas, the explosion does look like gas. It's very clean, it bursts and it just took this easiest way out. Now remember, this is not a high explosive. This is the same as like gunpowder in a gun barrel. High explosive is gelignite, and it blows the hardest thing. So if you put gelignite on top of a rock, it'll blow the rock, because it's easier for it to shift the rock in two than it is to move the weight of the air above it. And the kinetic energy of the sudden expansion of gas will break the rock. Whereas with ordinary domestic gas, gunpowder, petrol, or any of them, that's not what happens. What happens with petrol is the air becomes saturated. So if you put petrol on a smouldering fire, it causes it to vaporize, and you have vapor through the air, and that's deadly dangerous. Petrol is very efficient at going up into the air as atoms. little atomized piece, and they'll blow. They have killed many people. Gas is more or less the same, maybe less volatile, maybe, I'm not sure. So anyway, any event, if it was gas, and it did look like gas, it would blow the roof off and it would leave the rest of the building there. But usually gas is not that severe. Usually it's not that severe. Usually it'll poof more, or it'll go boom. And I've seen it going off several times and replicated, and I could make a model of it. Usually it's not so severe as to burst or everything it comes across. Usually it blow out a window or something. Anyway, we speculate, and that's all I can do. But there is something I'm coming to. Were there lithium-ion batteries in that building? There were solar panels on the roof, it appears to me. Was there something where they charged up lithium-ion batteries, and the lithium-ion batteries were used for this green stuff of having green energy? Were they lighting the lights? That would be a big point. Now, an interesting thing in the investigation, which I make no criticism of as such, I'm just trying to give my tuppence halfpenny worth, is that this company, Det Norsk Veritas, you can check them out yourself, DNV, DET, check it again there, NORSKE, Veritas. And they're a Norwegian company, they're a huge company. And they concentrate a lot in things like gas, oil, and all of that. And they were brought in on it. Now that could be to give a shout out, I have no problem with that, give a help. But one of the things I would look for, and they should know about it, and maybe it was found, that could be why they're there, is if there was a lithium-ion battery. Lithium-ion batteries can burn ferociously. They exclude all this substance that's a mix of oxygen and ignitable substances, and it flares out like it's really, you see them there on electric cars going on fire, and I have a campaign about the danger of this on ferries, but our government doesn't want to know. But there are examples of where you get thermal runaway, it's called, and it can often be caused where there's water. And where you get thermal runaway, you can get, in some circumstances, an explosion, a bang explosion, like not just a fire. And in South Korea, there's one example of where a Mercedes car blew up. There was some kind of thermal runaway, and it went bang. And it blew the whole place out of it, blew the whole garage out of it where it's parked. The park wrote off several cars, I think up to 100, if not more cars. So if you get the product of a lithium-ion fire that gets out into the air without burning, if it burns and goes and it burns away like that, that's grand. It'll burn away. But if the gases come out on other points and the heat gets big and these flammable gases get out in the air, mixing with the oxygen in the air and with their own supply of oxygen from the lithium-ion battery composition from the cells, you can get, and there are several instances, a bang explosion where the whole thing blows. And that would be an area I would look at. And that bang would be so severe you might not get the bits of it, but you might get the wiring into it. It would be one explanation, other than malicious, of course, if there was some kind of a bomb placed in there. Well, that's different. I look at that's a criminal investigation. But this is one I'm thinking of, and the presence of this company in the investigation causes me to think it could be possible. Now, the residents with whom I've offered my sincere condolences, God help you all, the people there who lost their loved ones, I call them residents out of force of habit. I meant to say the relatives, really, sorry about that. You've called for an inquiry, really, right, you have an inquiry. You have barristers, you have solicitors, all on the gravy train. We represent this one, I represent this one, and you'll be like, well, I felt my lawyer now, he was a barrister, he'd done a good job now, he mentioned all these things and he said this and that. If there is a criminal investigation, normally on Garda Síochána, the Irish police will do a reasonably good job on that. I don't know if there is or not. But that's all they can do. No inquiry can do it. And remember, supposing the suspect is Joe Soap, if he gives evidence and admitted he put off the bomb in the place, that cannot be used in a court of law against him. The essence of a judicial inquiry is that those give evidence to the inquiry to get the truth. It's not to get them convicted, and you cannot use the evidence there to be convicted, to convict him. If he said or she said, I blew the whole thing up, that's not admissible in law. The guards would have to interview him again, and he could say, I wish to say nothing. So you can't use that. My own hunch is it was an unfortunate accident. But in a world where this green stuff is everywhere and boasted by the national media, everybody or nobody, if you're not green, solar panels, windmills, all of this. And that's this company DNV. They do deal with renewable energy. It's on their website there. Get it on Wikipedia. That's one of the things. Coal, oil, gas, energy, renewable energy and all that, and I presume solar panels. So they were brought in on that. So that's my suggestion. That's the way I'd be looking. And if relatives want to inquire or they're in the position to inquire, ask that simple question. Is there evidence of lithium-ion batteries? What happened to solar panels? What was the electricity used for? Was there a lighting system or an electrical system relying on lithium-ion batteries? If there was, where is these or where are these now? Where were they after the explosion? I can only speculate. That's all I'm doing. But if I had to bet a lot, and betting on something that cost people lives is not in my nature. And looking at the whole thing up, down, across, and the damage done, and the incident in South Korea. And there are several others there you can research. This Mercedes car suffered thermal runaway. There come the wee jet of hot gas out, and the thing went through, and there was water, and it got to a perfect stage, and it forced out all this unburnt gas. And this unburnt gas got to a point in the air where it was now saturated to the correct point to ignite. And then it had the ignition from its own little stream of flame coming out, and it blew. But it didn't go with a big boom like that. It was a sudden explosion, an immense explosion with huge energy that blew the whole car parking lot to bits, more or less. That's what I'd look at. Comment underneath, and please keep your comments respectful. I'll delete any comment that makes little of people suffering or their grief in this case. I will not take that now. So that will not be allowed. So other than that, that's all I can say to you. It's a topical thing, and it's incumbent on a channel like mine to cover it. See you back and comment underneath. Again, keep them respectful in this case. I'd have a look. Was there lithium-ion batteries involved in this? And if there was, I'd be asking questions. Thank you.